Hello, Let's Conquer It family. Today in the short video, we'll try to learn the trick to remember RDA 2020 for the nutrient fiber. As usual, before getting into the trick part of the video, we have to learn the unit in which this particular nutrient is measured. If we see in terms of fiber, it is measured in terms of grams. 2 points we have to remember here. One is that there's only one number that we have to remember, and from that one number we'll be trying to get the other values by either adding, subtracting or multiplying, or maybe by remembering a story. Second point is that depending on which physical activity category the person belongs to, that is whether he belongs to sedentary category or moderate category or heavy worker category, fiber requirements are going to change. Okay, let us get into the trick part of this. First, let's start with men belonging to sedentary category. Fiber requirement of a man who is sedentary is only 30 grams. From this 30 is what we are going to get the other values. Now to get the moderate person, a person who is moderately active, the fiber requirement to get that, we are just going to add 10. 30 plus 10 gives us 40. 40 grams is the fiber requirement of a man who is moderately active. Next, to get the requirement of a man who is a heavy worker, again we are just going to add another 10. 40 plus 10 gives us 50. So this 50 is the fiber requirement of a person, of a man who is a heavy worker. Simple, you don't have to remember much things because it is just 30, 40, 50 in order for sedentary, moderate and heavy worker. Now let us go into the women's requirements. We already know that 50 grams is the fiber requirement of a man who is a heavy worker. Now what we are going to do is we are going to divide this 50 by 2. 50 divided by 2 gives us 25. This 25 is the fiber requirement of a woman who is sedentary. Alright, now for getting the moderate and heavy worker requirement in women, I am just going to write the same values which are there in the men. 30 from sedentary and 40 from moderate. So the requirement for women's become 25, 30 and 40. Alright, so for men it was 30, 40, 50. Now for women it is 25, 30 and 40. This 30 and 40 I have just taken from the men's requirements and put it here. Now let us go into the second one. Before going into that, one more point you have to remember. Fiber requirements do not change for women during pregnancy and lactation, and also the fiber RDA is not given for infants category, that is for 0 to 6 months and 6 to 12 months it is not given. I am not saying it is 0, I am just saying that it is not given in RDA 2020. Now let us go into the next category, which is children category. Again there are 3 different categories in this: 1 to 3 year old, 4 to 6 year old and 7 to 9 year old. To get the requirements of a 1 to 3 year old, let us come back to the 30. 30, as I said, is the only number that you will be remembering in this case. So what we are going to do is that divide this 30 by 2. 30 divided by 2 gives me 15. Okay, this 15 is the fiber requirement of a baby who is 1 to 3 years old. Next, to get the fiber requirement of the next one, that is 4 to 6 year old child, add 5. 15 plus 5 gives me 20, and this 20 is the fiber requirement of a 4 to 6 year old. Now to get the requirements of 7 to 9 year old, just add another 5, which gives me 25. But in RDA 2020 table, if you see, it is 26. I always say this in a few of my videos, here and there 1, 2, it is not going to matter much, because the values, even if you remember them approximately, you will be able to do a very good job of taking the correct answer. So it's okay, you can remember it as 25 also. So now for this category, the fiber requirements have become 15, 20, 25, which is actually 26. Now let's come to the next category, that is 10 to 12 year old, 13 to 15 and 16 to 18 year old. From 10 years old, most of the nutrients will start changing for girls and boys. I have not mentioned here which is boys and which is girls. In the videos, in any of my videos, if you see, the first column is for boys and the second column is for girls. Now what we are going to do is we are going to start this taking the values from the girls category. Again, go back to the 30 that we have already remembered. Just put that 30 in a 10 to 12 year old girls category. 30 grams is the fiber requirement of a 10 to 12 year old girl. To this 30, if I add plus 3, it gives me 33. This 33 is the 10 to 12 year old requirement of a boy. Again add another 10, which gives me 43. 43 is the fiber requirement of a boy who is 13 to 15 years old. Now a little bit tricky part here. A 16 to 18 year old boy's fiber requirement is same as fiber requirement of a man who is a heavy worker. In order to remember this, just remember that teen boys usually play hard. They usually play heavy. They play cricket, they play football, they do a lot of games, right? So you can remember that they play heavy So the fiber requirement is the same as a man who is a heavy worker, which is 50. Now let us go into the girls' requirements. We already know that for a 10 to 12-year-old girl, it is 30 grams. Now what we are going to do, we are not going to add anything or minus anything. We are just going to add 2 strokes. On the 0 which is there in the 30, if I just put a slanting stroke, just a slanting stroke on top of the 0 of 30. Just see, I have given it in the screen also. Just put a stroke and attach it. 0 becomes 6. So the value becomes 36. 36 grams is the fiber requirement of a 13 to 15-year-old girl. Now I am going to put another U-shaped stroke yahan pe above the 6. So just see, I have given it in the screen also. 36 on above the on the slanting part of the 6, you just add a hook there, which makes it 38. So 30, 36, 38. Now I have given you the fiber requirements of whatever is there in RDA 2020. When you listen to this video first time, it can even sound absurd. Why to remember these many like tricks and everything? But believe me, it is going to be useful, because it's completely impossible if you try to remember these as actual absolute numbers. You have to use some kind of a trick, some kind of a story, and some kind of relationship in order to remember these numbers, so that you get the correct answer in your exam. Alright, so almost all of the nutrients we have given, only 3 or 4 nutrients are left to give you for this memory tricks. Stay tuned with us on YouTube so that you get to know the trick for all the RDA nutrients which are there in RDA 2020. Thank you so much for listening to us.